Traversing the universe, all the way across the interwebs, two more men arrive to conquer the universe with their powers of diplomacy and technology. It's Shin Ultraman, the panel.
Mafia, wake up, wake up, wake up.
You have created a monster and it will destroy you.
I mean, I know I'm not supposed to introduce one of these people, Eric, but garnering peace, okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe not the most peaceful of guests, but we'll try. We'll try. We're going to say they're diplomatic. But welcome back to the Monsters vs. Men podcast. This is the bargain basement of the Monster Podcasting Airways, where two friends, and this time four friends, try to stay alive and stay connected by chatting about weekly monster movies. This week, we are continuing our discussion as we stay alive about Shin Ultraman. With me, as always, is my tall and skinny otherworldly co-host, Alex.
Joined by Mephiles running away in the middle of a fight, Eric.
Oh, man. Ouch. Dang.
Starting early.
I'm just saying you're unreliable. That's all. Don't worry about it.
Alex, will you introduce our first guest after criticizing me so much?
Before, after, or during?
Oh.
Okay. All right. And joining us is esteemed guest, returning guest for I don't know how many times now, Michael from the Power Trip podcast, where he's found great success and he has been able to retire early.
Yes,
thank you, Michael, for joining us.
This is true. But also, I am the co-founder and producer of Kaiju Ramen magazine. So
that's the most important thing.
That's the most important part. Actually, the Power Trip is the most important. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Are we getting more Kaiju Ramen, Michael? Yes. That's what our people want to know.
We are getting more Kaiju Ramen. In fact, we will be tabling at All Monsters Attack, and if everything goes well, we might be paneling at G-Fest as well. So
what's tabling? Is this something that young listeners can hear?
First you have a baseball bat and then a goat, and then
the energy for this podcast is so out of whack.
You draw a star on the table, light a few candles,
and then you take out your Japanese slicing knife.
Slicing knife.
Yes, but no, we're gonna be at All Monsters Attack in Chicago this year. We'll have a table there. We're gonna be selling products, selling copies of the magazine, interacting with people there, interacting with our friends, our fans, our readers, etc. So it's just gonna be a good time. Looking forward to being there with everybody.
All right, awesome. Cool. Eric, we got someone else with us.
Yeah.
Do we have to?
Yeah.
Do we have to?
We do. Okay. All right. Joining us back on the pod in what feels like forever is none other than writer, Godzilla historian, and Twitter provocateur, GMAN,
Jack. That's a really diplomatic way of saying it.
Yeah.
Provocateur.
Jack, how does it feel to be back in the bargain basement? And more importantly, this is just to start us off. If you were an Ultraman universe monster, who would you be and why?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, as far as being back, I mean, what took you so long to ask me back is my question. I don't.
Touche.
The main event is here. I don't know why you introduced Michael first, but I think. Ooh.
I could tell you who he is.
Objectively, it would have to be Red King.
I was going to say you're Zban. You're just running around in a trench coat and making everybody mad at each other.
Man, did he look good in that trench coat, though?
He did.
I kept thinking to myself, that's a really good look, honestly, with the hat.
Have you adopted it now?
I'm thinking about it. I'm a little short on cash at the moment, but yeah, I might. I have to look like Zahn as well, though.
I was going to say, Jack, that you were Subizu because you hang out on Twitter a lot. And as we all know, Twitter is the graveyard for common sense.
This is true. This is also true. Yeah. You got me. You got me. You know, the funny thing about Twitter, though, is I post plenty, I'm sure, and I notice that people comment on the posts I make. I don't look at a single thing that's responded to on any of my. I don't know who I've pissed off.
Is
at
that
this point.
why you used to never respond to me when I would message you? You like post something like, yeah, it's that thing, and then Gmail
No, that was just 'cause he didn't
ignores
like
me, and
you,
I'm
Alex.
like, he either hates me or
that's just because I don't like you.
Yes,
I don't.
this is becoming much more clear for me. That's okay. Okay.
My first interaction with Jack was I made a comment that 2002 Godzilla was Gonzo Goji, and he just replies with, "Oh, I see you have an original thought there. Well done." And I'm like, well,
I don't even remember that. I don't
like
remember
that. That's part of my villain story, Jack. I'm coming for you.
This is this sounds exactly right.
The world is far less interesting with no villains. So I'm glad I could at least add to the fun through you, Michael. That's
Thank you, thank you,
now,
my friend. I appreciate that.
And now you have to put up with Nathan. So I mean, it's all come kind of.
Oh boy.
I'm curious, Jack, if you'll be, because I don't honestly know what either of you think about Shin Ultraman. I'm curious if you'll be the villain to our enthusiasm or not. So,
let's find out.
Without further ado, let's get started. So reintroductions behind us. I'm glad to get this panel started. Last week, Alex and I, we sung the praises of Shin Ultraman, but not without a few hesitations, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Right.
But first, I'll ask both of you the same question we started out with last week. Does Shin Ultraman capture the essence of Ultraman? Does it forge its own path, or does it find a balance between the two? Michael, I'd like to start with you, if you would.
I want to say that first 45 minutes, yes. That first 45 minutes of the movie, it feels exactly like the 1966 show. But then it quickly turns into a new what is it? A noir.
Michael, breathe.
Use your words, sir.
I'm just so nervous because my friend Jack is here and I want to impress Jack so bad. But it turns almost into like a whodunit cop procedural, like around the middle part of the film with Zerub. I think that it does capture. I think it captures the original spirit of the Ultraman show, and it strikes a balance between trying to capture a little bit of that nostalgia, which we all know that Jack is fond of, and
I've heard some interesting things about this nostalgia, Jack, that you have for Michael.
Oh, you have no idea.
I think it does. I think Shin Ultraman does a really good job of capturing the spirit of that original 1966 show, but with some twists and turns along the way.
Jack?
So, I mean, you mentioned does it capture the essence of Ultraman, or does it forge its own path, or find a balance between the two? I certainly I kind of agree with Michael in the sense that it does do both, but whether or not it balanced those two, it feels like Ultraman. You know, I think what Ultraman is, what Ultraman can be, is a very wide definition at this point, because we have so many series.
Wider than Godzilla?
I do think wider than Godzilla. Wider than Shin Godzilla's hips, especially. You know, it's very because, you know, someone before Shin Ultraman, you still had, say, Ultraman the Next. All right. And if someone watched that and then watched, say, Ultraman Leo, I mean, they would be like, wait, what? There's no, the different types of Ultraman stories you can tell at this point are very wide and very varied. And I think Shin Ultraman fits in that same atmosphere, that same universe that the franchise has kind of expounded upon for years and years and years. And in this case, we see a lot of Anoisms, a lot of attention to socio-political climate and a lot of satirizing, a lot of butt grabbing. Although you could make I'm sure there's been plenty of butt grabbing in other Ultraman shows.
There's definitely plenty of butt grabbing on this show.
Yeah. What viewers don't know, is I am in fact
watch it.
Grabbing Michael's butt right now. The rest will save.
You have such soft hands, Jack.
The rest will save for MVM Plus, but
so the subtitle for this is the Shin Ultraman panel, the grab ass episode.
That's it. That's what I'll put.
I like how there. Alex of all people was like, wow. watch it. And I was
when he knows he has no room to talk.
I saw the paths and I saw where they all led to. Jack, I do kind of want to piggyback off something you were saying. When you are thinking about the direction of the movie in particular, where do you see Anno's influence here, and where do you see Higuchi's? Like, is it too hard to separate the two at this point, or do you think? Like, where do you think they received their inspiration?
Yeah, so I went into this movie thinking, okay, this is a Shinji Higuchi film. This is directed by Shinji Higuchi, and a lot of people who have sort of championed him and his talent and how this is his production, probably went into it thinking, I'm really excited, he gets a chance to shine here. Mm-hmm. And when I walked out of the movie, I thought to myself, because I really wanted to be there and be like, no, this is Higuchi's film. Anno just wrote the thing. That's that. We're going to see a lot of his influences and his style in this movie. And I walked out of the movie and I was just like, maybe this is Anno's movie. His fingerprints are all over this thing. And I think a lot of his screenplay is incredibly witty. Probably the most witty I've seen in the genre. I mean, the movie's funny from start to finish. It really intentionally funny. I thought the dialogue was quick and humorous, and then you also have the quick edits. And I only found out after the fact that Anno was actually one of the editors for this movie, and I was well, there you go, because. Higuchi typically doesn't have a shot list that makes directors of photography want to kill themselves like Anno does. I mean, the shot list only Kubrick could love the shot list for this movie. Okay, they got so much coverage. Right. I was like, well, maybe we need an angle next to the wheel of the chair she's sitting in, pointing upward. You think that's a good idea? Let's get that coverage. So. I really feel this is kind of more Anno's movie than Higuchi's, because if you go back and look at Higuchi's movies, and if you want to look at, say, the Attack on Titan films, they are not similar at all. And with Anno being the supervisor of this movie and the screenwriter and the editor, I felt that I have no confirmation of this. I would like to find out more, but there's got to be a day where he just ghost directed. So that's kind of my thought on the matter.
What about you, Michael?
Jack is such an articulate person. Like he just articulated. No, this feel like I almost agree. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do agree with Jack. I think that you walk into this movie thinking it's going to be a Higuchi movie, a very Gucci Higuchi movie, and. I'm sorry, guys. But you walk out of it acknowledging that it's a very Anno movie in the style that it's written. And like it's a Higuchi movie because there's such odd angles used. Like we joke about the chair, but the chair, like those angles, like where the camera is looking from underneath the arm of a desk chair to the other chair on the other side of the table. Like that is a really weird angle. And there's a lot of focus put on the chair. So I don't know. I don't have much to add there because obviously Jack is way smarter than me. In terms of film production, but go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. Did you all have, before you watched the film, I'm assuming you all watched in theaters. Did you have like a little segment beforehand that was a interview with Higuchi?
Yes.
Yeah. Even there, he's just talking about Anno's influence in this film. I think it's interesting whether or not he was ghost directed or anything else. Anno was so influenced by the style of the original Ultraman show, right? Like some of those Jisoji episodes, his style feels directly influenced by those Jisoji episodes. And then this movie feels so influenced by those Anno movies and shows that it's hard to differentiate between what's what, right? Because they're all interconnected. Right. So I think Higuchi is trying to honor Anno, and through honoring Anno is honoring Jisoji, but it's all interconnected. So it's hard to differentiate between the three at this point.
I can agree with that. I can agree. I think Jisoji's shots are more creative. Because I feel like, sometimes I just feel like they're putting a camera underneath a chair, looking through another chair's whatever Michael said, and whereas Jisoji, I feel normally he fills the space with something, with a reflection or something like that, and then holds on it, right? Because it's really an ingenious shot. Where Anno just likes to cut, which, to be fair, that works with the kind of the comedic timing of the film. So I don't want to necessarily lambast that, but Jisoji will definitely hold on to his shots a lot longer.
Yes, I would agree. I also think with that quick editing style, it definitely ties itself back to the editing style of Shin Godzilla, right? Shin Godzilla had that lightning quick editing.
It was hard to keep up with. Shin Godzilla, I thought, is really hard to keep up with.
It's purposeful. Kind of like this a little bit.
Very. But I think that it's purposeful in two different ways here, right? In Shin Godzilla, you had those quick edits that were, they made you kind of stop for a second and see the discombobulation among the team and among these different levels of bureaucracy. Whereas here, I felt like the quick edits were showing the different perspectives of the team in a way that all the perspectives felt honored and valued. So it was emphasizing that teamwork. Whereas in Shin Godzilla, the quick edits seemed to show the individuals among the team. So I don't know. There were some similarities, but it seemed like they were used in different ways. I don't know if you all would agree or disagree.
That's definitely a take I haven't thought about. I was so focused on how the camera the shots tended to shift whenever something ironic or funny was said, because it works so well. But I don't know. I'd have to go. I really wish I had watched this movie another time before we did this, and I really can't wait to watch it again. But what I got out of it was that I felt the shots here were cut a lot quicker than Shin Godzilla, and I just attributed that to the witty dialogue in the screenplay.
Yeah. Now, I know you, Jack, you're a pretty avid Ultraman fan, and Michael, I believe you've watched quite a bit of the series too at this point, but probably a little less.
A little less than Jack, probably, yeah.
But for both of you, would you recommend Shin Ultraman as a good starting point for the series? And what reservations overall would you have about recommending it? Michael, let's start with you.
I was going to say, I think yes and no, only because it feels like it's the same spirit of Ultraman, because the thematics of the thematics that we've seen in Ultraman, like hope, perseverance, etc. Like they're prevalent here. Like the whole theme of Shin Ultraman is hope. Like they pointed it out pretty clearly at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the quote was, but it came from the researcher, the female the actress, the researcher. Her name is escaping me, but there was Asami. Yeah, she made a quote about hope, and that kind of encapsulated the movie nicely. And I think that Shin Ultraman tries to be so much Ultraman at one at all at once, but it doesn't take the time to really pace itself, because you're going from 1966 Ultraman, it feels exactly like the show, to this crime, like more of a film noir crime drama in the middle act, and then it's a sort of whodunit, and then like a hard sci-fi at the end. If you were an Ultraman purist, though, there's some things about this movie that's going to piss you off. I'm just going to be honest. Like, namely, I don't know how spoilery you guys. I mean, I guess we can be spoilery.
It's a review. You can spoil it.
Yeah. But Zeton at the end being used as basically a mega weapon, a mega space weapon. But like Zeton being used in that way by the Ultras, because in this movie, like what we know of the Ultras kind of gets turned on its head slightly, where, they're the giants of light. They come from the land of light, yada, yada. The Ultras have always been portrayed as this benevolent race who, kumbaya, and they have to take care of everybody. No, they're in this movie, they're a lot more, I would say even isolationist. Like they're a lot more standoffish. Basically, I would even say that there's a level of fear to the Ultras that you don't see with the normal with the regular show, because there's that line from Zafi where he says that the human race is a young, basically paraphrasing, is a young version of us. Like they're on their way to becoming us, but there's a lot of flaws with the human race that we need to try to snuff out before they get to that point, because the human race can be, and we learn this later on, that like the human race can be easily manipulated basically as 30 billion bioweapons, essentially. And that's very scary to the Ultras. And I think there's that isolationist mentality to the Ultras that we don't necessarily see with the main show. Like, cause it's, like I said, it's just very like kumbaya. The Ultras protect everybody and everyone goes home, everyone goes home happy, but you don't see that here. And I think that's an aspect of the lore that's really going to make people angry if they're walking in this movie expecting it to be exactly like the Ultraman that they know and love.
Yeah, that was something, Michael, that I think I even texted you about, that I actually did have a problem with. It wasn't that Ultraman, like the Land of Light, was using Zeton as a weapon. I just didn't like the execution of it. I like the idea of them doing it, but I just didn't like Zeton being essentially a machine, a lifeless machine in a lot of ways.
What'd you think, Jack?
As for the original question, I assume is what you're asking me. Would I recommend Shin Ultraman as a good starting point? I mean,
no, I wouldn't. To answer that original question, sorry, Jack, but to answer that original question, I don't think I would. Maybe to a casual fan, but someone who is interested in Tokusatsu, who has a working knowledge of the series or Tokusatsu in general, or is a fan of it in general, I probably wouldn't say start here, because there's going to be a lot of disappointing and confusing things about it. But anyway, sorry, Jack,
it's fine. I mean, Michael, I mean, you articulated that vernacular in such an outstanding way, and I don't.
Well, thank you, good sir. I do quite appreciate it. Yes, quite.
This is where I derail the whole thing with Rito. So I think.
Oh man!
In the end, it really depends on the person. Do I think the person watching Shin Ultraman will think to themselves, wow, that's interesting, and I'm ready to explore more of it, knowing full and well that's going to be different? or am I going to show it to a person who is just, kind of expecting more of the same? Which sounds like a cop-out answer, but I think it's something I'm always careful about in that sense. I mean, I started with Ultraman the Next, and that was not, at the time, not a very good representation of what Ultraman is as a whole. I think it's a little closer these days, but at the time it was very different. And me wanting to explore the franchise, I mean, I was hooked. After that, I went straight into Nexus and went into the original series.
Sure.
In terms of what the franchise represents as a whole, I don't think that would be the most adequate starting place for a new fan. Some of it is what Michael said. Another part of it is that I feel like there's a lot in it that is very Japanese. Again, this is sort of the Anno influence. We have, alien race after alien race trying to out technology and out bureaucrat the Earth via Japan. And then at the end of the film, another alien race decides to aim a weapon of mass destruction at the Earth. They've unilaterally made that decision. It's very similar to Shin Godzilla, where all these other countries were looking at Japan and trying to take over the situation for them. And at the end of the film, the U.S. decides that they're just going to drop a weapon of mass destruction on Godzilla on Japanese soil. And so, it's one of those things where I know there's a state of Japan that we as Westerners don't fully appreciate. And even having that context, you have to think, well, the truth is really stranger than fiction. And what better way to honor truth than to make the fiction even stranger? And that's where we have Ultraman. It's instead of the U.S. and other countries kind of picking on Japan, now we have a bunch of aliens and the Land of Light picking on Earth. And, it's a little less transparent. I'm not saying Shin Godzilla wasn't trying to be non-transparent. I guess that's a word. We can use it. But here, it was kind of the Rod Serling sort of mentality where Rod Serling used to say, if I said in a screenplay that it was the Russians, they wouldn't air it. But if I say in a screenplay that was aliens, then it was perfectly fine to put on TV. And here we have kind of, I feel a similar example with all the different aliens and monsters in Shin Ultraman, which I think really fits the genre because, this whole kaiju genre came about because talking about, nuclear weapons and stuff was taboo. And it was just easier to assimilate that kind of storytelling through the guise of a giant monster. And I think this movie is still very, like Shin Godzilla, not as much, but like Shin Godzilla, still very focused on how Japan feels as a country, how marginalized it feels.
It must be nice to be a superpower. Or what was the line? It must be nice to be a superior country or something in reference to the United States.
Yeah, something like that. So I think, and I've never felt Ultraman was really about that. It's perfectly fine that these themes are being, put into the franchise. I think that's new, but I also wouldn't expect that in, Ultraman Gaia, Ultraman Nexus, right?
Right.
So just be, we just need to be careful with expectations when showing someone who has some interest in the series. And while I don't think this is the best starting place, I could see it being kind of a gateway drug, at least, to the franchise.
Well, that's going to get us into something a little bit lighter, which one of the questions that I saw Eric ask on Twitter was, which monster received the best redesign? Jack, What you got?
I think Gamora did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they really leaned into the whole drill aesthetic for that guy, and it worked so well.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of turned my nose up at it at first before I saw the movie, but when I saw it in the movie, I was like, all right, this works. This is really nice.
It's so good.
It was very creative,
and it's just such a nice surprise. I mean, it's not a surprise because you see it by the preview material, but when it does open up that drill, it's so awesome.
And like, the mechanics of it all doesn't make any sense, but that's what I love about it. Like they really made use of the CG here and did something that they really couldn't have done with the suit. I really appreciated that.
What's really funny about all that, because there was that line in Shin Ultraman's like, it's so weird because his torso looks the same, but his head is different.
I was the only person who audibly laughed in the theater when they said that because of the whole Baragon connection.
It's so awesome.
And then I half expected them to make another comment. It's like, wait, that's not like that roar. That's Gamora. I thought that was another monster because they have the same roar. I mean. There's like small Easter eggs like that sprinkled throughout this movie. They're not, this is not, I wouldn't say this is like this movie's not like a huge hit of nostalgia, although there are those those nice little callbacks, but there's little Easter eggs sprinkled throughout this whole movie.
Yeah. I would agree.
So I mean, I could have taken the basic answer and went with Gamora. But I'm going to go with Zerub because I'm going to go with Zerub.
It's the trench coat, right?
Because at first, exactly. It's exactly it. I have a thing for trench coats. I don't know why. But
because you saw Jack wearing one.
But I picked Zerub because at first I didn't like it because in this movie, Zerub is hollow. But the more I got to thinking about it, the more enamored I got with that character, because him being hollow is indicative of his character because he makes empty promises. He's just a shell, and it goes towards some of his character development or his character thematic, whatever. And that's why I picked Zerub. And I just like the fact that they made it the same but also different. Now, I can't really speak too much for the design when it was, fully blown up in CGI, and it's CGI the whole time, but when it like during the city fight, I can't speak to that because I have issues with the CGI in this movie, but I'm going to go with Zerub because I'm not basic like John.
But more articulate.
I like it.
Well, I'm go ahead, Eric.
No,
I'm not going to get into a pissing contest with Jack. I'm not going to.
Well, Michael, you didn't get in any pissing contest on MVM Plus today. You did join us for MVM Plus, but it did become Monsters versus Michael whenever we started talking about Power Rangers.
True.
So you kind of gave us the rundown on Power Rangers and used your expertise to give some good recommendations for my family because we had such a wide array of needs. So we appreciate those recommendations. Of course, those are at MVM Plus, where you can find that at patreon.com/MVM pod. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but are we still running that special this month?
Yeah, still running that Black Friday special.
Oh, good.
The
Black
lowest
Friday
tier
in middle of January. What?
Yeah. Well, we're pretty generous.
Yeah, man, we've just extended it. We keep on extending it. What was that? Is it $2 a month?
It's $2 a month to get extra MVM Plus.
Oh my
$5
gosh.
if you want your episodes a week early.
That is insane. Wow.
I know, it's incredible.
What a deal.
No one else is running Black Friday deals still. And here we are.
The deals.
Now, some people say that these are the same deals we had before Black Friday, but we disagree with that.
All right, let's let's get into our awards. As always, we have to get to our awards. So, compelling character award. Jack, who'd you have as your compelling character?
Well, I'm going to have to
Shin
go
Ultraman?
basic again, I think. And my character award was Asami. It's her movie in my mind. She's the one that's given this very slow and important introduction, and she's the one we kind of go on this journey with to figure out the secrets of Ultraman. And she initiates a sort of casual workplace friendship with the SSP after we saw them, very professional and in action before she entered the fray. And I kind of wish her character kind of learned more out of the experience. I don't think she grew to a point where she could have in this movie, but I did like following her in the journey to figuring out what the heck is going on. So, Asami, that's Michael.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay,
Michael.
I mean, since I agree with Jack. I wish that we had been able to watch this before we recorded this, because we're almost a week removed now.
We gave you all days, okay?
Well, I guess technically you gave me 2 days, but okay, I'm not gonna.
We asked you 2 hours ago, Michael.
Right.
Why didn't you get ready?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with Taki.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Taki as my most compelling character, just because he is an extremely just anxious person, but he's incredibly intelligent too. And all of his he brings all of his nerdiness to work, and I bring all of my nerdiness to work as well because I work from home. But that's just.
Oh God.
Honestly,
Alex, are you ready to edit this?
honestly, okay, fine.
I'm leaving it
fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't know. I'm going to go with Taki just because he's the character that I remember the most, being incredibly just drinking on the job.
Just say you related to him the most, drinking on the job.
Well, that's true. I do. I drink on the job. If anyone from my work is listening to this, and I know they do, I'm sorry. I promise I didn't take that client call after drinking a few. I don't know, Taki, because that's the character that's coming to mind, and I don't want to be basic and just say Ultraman.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
And I like Takis. There we go. I like Takis.
So there you go. There's the connection. That's what all Michael needs. What about Jesus? Are we still on compelling character? All right. All right.
You need to transition us to most
What
memorable line.
what about
award,
your
Alex.
most memorable line award?
Oh, that's
Michael?
easy. Oh, that's super easy. The most memorable line is, of course, my favorite saying. The most memorable line. That is.
Oh.
I did love that. That was good.
Just only because it got memed to death after the movie was shown off. So
Yeah, exactly.
that is my favorite saying.
All right, Jack. Did you go deeper?
Well, there's just so...
I'm sorry.
As Jack rifles through rifles through trying to remember lines from the movie because
Right,
he
that's-
notes.
No, he deletes that what
Right,
you just said, and now he's.
It was hard because there's just so much gold in this movie, especially in like the humor in it. And I have a hard time trying to, like, you, Alex, you mentioned one line, every part of their, or was it Michael, every part of their bodies was about the same except the head and the back. I don't know. It's either
That's the
Yeah.
spirit, Jack.
my favorite saying.
My favorite saying.
I really liked early on. Quick cut to the guy who goes, "Oh, have the U.S. military build a Ministry of Defense, not us." It just came out of nowhere. Like it was like they're in the middle of this crisis, right? And he had to make a quick note. Hey, by the way, in terms of financials, could you make sure that we don't get the bill for that? I don't.
Oh yeah, that was when they were. That was after they drop all those bombs on Gabora while he's drilling, and then they run out. They say that they're out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, can you build evidence?"
Yes,
It's going to be 6 months.
but, yeah, that's another good line. And I guess it's either that, but the runner up would have to be when they asked Zareb, why do you want to make friends with our country? And he just responds, "It is where I landed. That is all."
And they were like, "Oh,
Why do
okay."
always monsters just only show up in
Japan, right? In Japan, and how they mentioned how all the monsters only show up in Japan, so all the other countries don't care what happens.
Yeah. Oh, so funny. Jack, sticking with you, what about your Can't Believe That acting award?
I'll go with Ultraman, Takumi Saito. He, which really seems like a boring answer, but because he doesn't offer a lot of range in this entire movie. But that's partially why I like him. Like, in the pictures and in the trailers and all the behind the scenes stuff, he seemed like one of your standard, Ultraman boy band actors, right? Like I thought he was going to be sort of this lighthearted, somewhat oblivious character, like a lot of the latter Ultramen are. So when he came off as this very
smile,
when he came off as this very alien presence trying to get accustomed to our world, I was really surprised. I didn't expect that from him.
I wish I could read a book that fast.
I was surprised. I did like that he was almost a callback to, what was it, Hayata from the original?
Shinji.
Where he's almost a blank slate.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Michael, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Mephiles. Mephiles is my best acting award.
The alien?
The alien, yeah, the alien, Mephiles.
And we didn't know. So just the alien, not the actor.
No, just totally the alien, because he was able to talk out his feelings and work it out with Ultraman in a very civil fashion. Basically just turn tail and run. That's
I'm behind Michael on this. I like that. There we go. I'm
I don't know. Like I do. In all seriousness, I do like a villain who you almost sympathize with, and I think you got that with Mephiles. Because he was an incredibly likable character, but that he could end you in the blink of an eye, and he's not supposed to be there. In fact, he admitted to using the monsters like Gabora and others to experiment, basically testing the Earth's defense system and luring Ultraman which I thought was clever.
I don't buy this part of the story, by the way. But please proceed. Please proceed. I'll go with. I'm going to be done here in a second and just say Alien Mephiles, just because I like a villain who you can almost sympathize with and actually like, just because.
Wait,
I did like his character, but his whole thing about luring Ultraman out, I'm like, that's such BS. You did not want Ultraman, I want conflict, not. Yeah, why wouldn't he just do it under the radar so he could take over?
Well, if you want conflict, this is not the movie for you, because the Japanese officials just give up, and I think that's part of the commentary that they were going for, is how easily manipulated.
Well, no, it's not that. It's
the
like
Japanese government.
Why is he seeking out a fight with Ultraman? I wanted to draw him out. He could have taken over that planet without Ultraman ever knowing, right?
Maybe he's just a sadist. I don't know.
Okay, I'm nitpicking. I know I am, but I can't help it.
I know. That's what you do. It's what you do.
I hate you, Michael. All right.
I love you, Alex. Come over here and let me grab your butt.
All right. All right. I think we should just go ahead and move on to our own.
Should we? I don't know. I think we should sit on that for a bit.
I think we should. I think we should unpack that just a little bit more.
Oh god.
We're sorry, guys. I'm at least sorry.
No, it's good stuff.
Absolutely not sorry. Not in the little, not in the least.
All right. So what about your that's a good shot award, everybody? Michael, let's hear it.
The over the shoulder shot when Zafi comes to Earth. The over the shoulder blurry shot, because that is the best shot in that entire sequence, because the CGI in this movie looks unfinished, and that is all I will say. It just looks so incredibly unfinished, and that is the best shot in that entire just scene.
Yeah,
that's a good one actually, because it's very kind of like I don't know. It's almost like a scary sort of. Whoa! What's that? Like, there's a ghost back there or something.
It's foreboding. Yeah, it's because Mephiles sees Zafi, but Ultraman doesn't see Zafi, and Mephiles is like, "Well, I guess I will now."
Which right there. Okay, something's up, because if he just looked at Zafi and was like, "I'm gonna bounce," you knew something was about to go down. So that was that is a good shot. I like that, Michael.
Thank you, Jack.
Ultraman's hand clenching Kaminaga in his fist when he transformed. God, absolutely. There's there's a similar shot Higuchi did in Gamera 3 where the silhouette of Gamera's hand kind of like grabs Ayana kind of out of her dream state.
Yeah.
And so the fact he brought that back as a character transforming is just so cool. I love shots that combine like a giant creature or whatever with like the human character in an almost mythical way. It was just a painting. It was so cool.
That's awesome. Did either of you have any unique awards that you wanted to give to this film?
This movie gets the best use of the USS Enterprise in a non-Star Trek movie award.
Nice.
It got so many close-ups at so many angles that there was not a scene in the SSP office that we didn't get a shot of Taki's Enterprise model, and I started wondering where he got it. It's practically another character. That's it. That's my character award. The USS Enterprise sitting on Taki's shelf behind him. That's my character.
Michael?
I was not prepared for this one.
Why are we not surprised?
I'm gonna go. Hang on.
Trench coat.
The what the hell was that award with giant? What was her name? With giant Asami. There we go.
I thought for sure, Michael, you would say when Ultraman is out of control during the Saban fight, when he's like flipping in the air as he's flying, and he just does that. He stays in the same position.
No. There we go. See, I'm going to steal that one. There you go. Thank you, Alex, for reminding me, because that was already in the back of my mind. Thank you for just drawing it out. So I'm gonna go with the I can't believe that happened award and the flipping Ultraman and the spin kick. There we go.
The spin kick's good, but when he's in the city and he keeps gliding in the same, he doesn't change his pose at all to avoid it.
So
he flies in between the buildings. It's so funny.
It's so stiff.
It is,
but it's appropriate. It's stiff, but it's appropriate. Like, I don't know. Maybe you got. Was that a practical when he was flying and he's doing the Ultraman fly pose? Was that not in the city? I know that's CGI, but in other times when he's flying straight up in the air, was that a practical or was that CGI?
It's probably. Is anything in this practical?
I think all of it was CGI. The only practical I saw is when Asami like elbowed the building. And the interior of the building with all the desks and stuff, that was miniature.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good shot too. Should use that one.
Yeah, it was.
The part that I wondered if there was some practical element to it was the time hole piece, because again, you had that stiff Ultraman, and it seems like they were just kind of like shaking this Ultraman figure around while. The background was definitely CGI, but the Ultraman itself looked so much like a figure. It was, I started to doubt myself. I didn't know if it was
like they
CGI
put
or
the
practical.
like they put like a flying Ultraman figure in front of a giant fan. It was just,
kind of,
blowing
yeah.
everywhere.
It worked. Yes, but it worked. That's exactly what it looked like. And it made me doubt myself. I was like, is this CGI or practical? Which tells you a little bit about how they approach their CGI, I think, in this film, which is why I kind of disagree a little bit with what you were saying, Michael, earlier. Yeah, I do think there are some unpolished elements to the CGI, but and I think it's very noticeable in the trailer when you're just watching it in isolation. But it's a credit to this film that I kind of, for me at least, I forgot about it as the film goes on. And as even despite some of these ridiculous scenes, I don't think about the CGI near as much as I should. And as I would in a film that just felt like a green screen the entire time.
I will say, I thought, which weirdly enough, I did think about the CGI less in this film than I did with even Shin Godzilla. Because I feel I don't necessarily like the CGI in Shin Godzilla. Specifically with its first two forms that come up on land, like this, I just don't think the CGI looks good in those shots. It gets better later on, but like I didn't think about the CGI going into this movie only because I think mainly because I think I knew what I was getting myself. Like I knew what I was getting. Like I knew that I wasn't going to get practical effects for this, and I know that. Not trying to be insulting, but Japanese CGI is a little bit behind what America does in its production houses.
So to kind of round this out, I'd like to get your all's final thoughts and tiered rating. I was going to joke with you, Jack. I don't think you've listened to our show in a couple years now, but.
Apparently, I haven't either because I totally did not see these other two segments coming. But okay.
Oh, you're good. The tiered rating is you can either have a Godzilla tier, a Gamera tier, or a Gabara tier. Oh. So I'm curious, what's your all's final thoughts on the film, and is it a Godzilla, Gamera, or Gabara tier film?
Okay,
Jack,
all right.
I'd like to start with you.
And for the record. I have been listening to the episodes where you're doing that.
Here we go.
I just didn't listen to the episode where you started doing this, so I'm a little confused. So I guess given the choices, I'm going to give it a Gamera. It's a fun movie. It doesn't get as close to sort of reinventing the wheel like Shin Godzilla or the Gamera trilogy, and it is a little stuck in the past with some of its fan service and to get away with that, but. It has a likable cast. It's really, really funny. I have to praise Anno for the dialogue and some of his usual thematic stuff going on. So, I think it's a fun little movie, and I am looking forward to seeing it again.
You heard that? Jack said it's a fun little movie.
You can put that on the Blu-ray box, please. We'll.
There you go.
I'm gonna agree with Jack and say this is Gamera level. This is Gamera tier. It is a fun little movie, but I don't think the fan service was used atrociously because we've seen what atrocious fan service looks like, and this was done. I think it was done in the right amount. Like, yes, you had Shin Gomez in the first.
Ooh, yeah.
All the Ultra Q. I should have just picked Shin Gomez for an award. Daggone it. My Shin Gomez award. But I think saying that this movie's stuck in the past is unfair. Honestly, I think that yes, there are nods to the original show, but it uses all of that stuff appropriately, but also puts a new spin, no pun intended, on some of those old tropes from the show. Like for example, you guys talked about Gabora. Like it's not just this boring subterranean monster. Like it actually does new things. Like it's a new spin on the character. Also, like we talked about earlier, the Ultras not being this benevolent, race that's just kumbaya and loves everybody. That's a new spin. I like that. Zeton not being a Sajin and just being this weapon of mass destruction. I like that too. I think that this movie doesn't take a lot of risks though. And I would have liked to have seen it take a lot more risks, especially, since Ultraman is, by far more popular in Japan than Godzilla. And this movie was obviously made for the Japanese market, that I feel like, you're getting a lot of the same old with this movie, but it just looks prettier. Like, I have my gripes with the special effects, yes, but everything does look good in this movie. And there was not a moment in this movie where I was not invested in it. Is it a perfect movie? No. Is it Godzilla tier? No. But I will revisit this movie at some point. I will revisit this movie as soon as it comes out on home video. And I will be recommending this movie to somebody to watch that doesn't necessarily a fan of tokusatsu or even Japanese media, but just loves a solid story and good action and just okay CGI or okay special effects. Because I think there's a lot here. That people, even if you're not familiar with the Ultraman lore, you can latch on to and still enjoy. I don't think you have to know, books upon books upon books of Ultraman lore to enjoy this movie. I'm sure that there are a lot of people in that theater. There was about 30 of us when I watched this film. There's about 30 of us in that really small Regal theater where I live, that I'm sure not everyone in that theater has, hosted multiple podcasts, talked about this stuff for several years, is entrenched in Japanese media like we all are. But they all seem to really enjoy it. There was no one in that theater that I thought didn't enjoy themselves. They even cheered at some point. So I had a lot of fun with it. It's not a perfect movie. Ultraman is not my favorite franchise, honestly, but I love the effort that Anno and Higuchi put into this movie, and I'm looking forward to more projects by them. So it is Gamera tier for me.
I'm still thinking about the quote that they'll put on the Shin Ultraman box. A nice little movie. GMAN from Twitter.
And Michael. So it actually, here I want, it's a fun little movie, G-Man. It's a fun little movie, Michael. Both on the on the front of the box.
So Jack,
on the Monsters versus Men.
Jack, because I respect your work so much, and you wrote, and in all seriousness, you wrote a phenomenal review for this movie for Kaiju Ramen. I'm going to allow your quote to be on the front of the disc.
Okay, there we go. Well, we just want to really make sure that's a fun little movie.
That's awesome. Hey, I didn't know that you did that. Yeah, I didn't know. I don't even know if it's up yet. Jack, that's cool. It's really cool.
It's not. It's not up yet. It should be up this week. I'll send you guys a link whenever it's done. But Brandon texted me yesterday and said it would be up later this week. Which
awesome.
That's really cool. Which leads into our last part here. I'm curious, where can people find you online? What's in store for you this upcoming year? What creative projects are in your near future? We just heard about one, but Michael, why don't you start us off? We haven't heard.
Well, how much time do you have?
All right, 60 seconds, go.
Shameless self-promotion. It is one of my spiritual gifts.
You're channeling too much of Nathan.
So
right now.
I know he's going to listen to this show. Hi, Nathan. How are you doing? If you can find me on the Power Trip podcast with my co-host Nathan Marchand. We spent the entire 2022 of going through and analyzing the Power Rangers franchise season by season, talking about them in broad strokes, and even diving into some of the thematics of that franchise, and really trying to take that franchise seriously. And I think that's part of the success of the show. If I'm allowed to humble brag a little bit, is that we have. We have clarified that it is not just a campy kid show. Also, you can find some of the work that I'm involved in with KaijuRamaMedia.com. That is our fan magazine started by myself and Travis Alexander, and we're like I said, I think I said this during this show, but I definitely said it during MVM Plus, where we're going to be at All Monsters Attack in Chicago this summer. We're gonna have a table there, so if you're there, please stop by and say hello. We're gonna be selling books and just interacting with all the readers and just hopefully having a good time with everybody. And we're gonna hopefully, fingers crossed, be on a content creators panel at G-Fest this year as well. And I think Nathan and I are trying to get the showrunners for G-Fest to allow us to do a panel at G-Fest to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers this year as well. And speaking of Power Rangers, I think we talked about this on my show on the Power Trip, but we're going to be writing a book this year, a nonfiction book that goes through the franchise and mainly talks about its thematics, because we've realized that there's a lot of fans out there that feel the same way we do, that love the Power Rangers franchise and appreciate it, not just for its action, but also for what it is meant to us and as fans and to pop culture. So we're going to be writing that book throughout this year. Hopefully we will get a Kickstarter up around the 30th anniversary sometime in August, where people can support that project. We're already talking to a cover artist. We've not got a title nailed down yet, but if anyone has any ideas,
I have some ideas for you, Michael, already.
But yeah, that's about it. But definitely, we're going to be it's definitely going to be a fun project. And honestly, speaking personally, it's just my love letter to a franchise that I grew up with and I deeply appreciate. So, Jack,
awesome,
I've talked way too much. Go for it.
I do want to preface beforehand. I'm really looking forward to that Power Rangers book that you're planning on writing. That's been kind of in the back of my head, being like, "Ooh, giddy! I can't wait," because there's so little material out there.
That's not exactly what you texted me. What you texted me was way raunchier than that. But okay, I won't read that.
It's not MVM Plus. We can't say that right now. So
that's true. That's true.
So you can find me on the Drift Space podcast with my co-hosts, my sister Rebecca Hudgens, my best friend J.R. Villers, and occasionally David May, on any of the usual podcatchers, iTunes, Spotify, etc. And we're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Drift Space. You can find me personally on Twitter at GMAN and Mysterioid, where apparently I'm still pissing off people. Thank you, Alex, Eric, for reminding me.
Like you didn't know. I never check, aka I check at night just to get myself to sleep,
so I can sleep better at night.
I get a deeper sleep through the rage.
Excellent. There are people crying. I can now get to my REM sleep, and you can you can follow me on my Substack, Deferential Wrath of a Wrestling Markalite Canon, which at this point is basically just getting the rejected Kaiju Ramen articles, which I'm. it's.
Well, to be fair though, there's not that many rejected ones.
I do have more stuff in the pipework for Kaiju Ramen coming up. I've been talking to Michael and Travis a little bit about that, and so I hope to record more with the Drift Space and write more articles for my favorite Kaiju magazine.
Okay, I'm assuming this is offcast. Are you guys still doing the rhyme thing?
Oh yeah,
next
it's
episode
here.
For this.
It's always here.
Okay. What is the next episode?
Eric, we haven't discussed it, so we don't know. I don't think.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I took it off.
But it's gonna be something about zombies. So if you can rent something with zombie, there you go.
Okay.
Think you can do it?
Maybe.
You're out of time.
You want me to do it now?
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready for more zombies. I hope it's as good as Barbie.
Oh.
Hey, I am interested in the Barbie movie.
I'm going. Absolutely.
As always, thank you for listening to Monsters vs. Men. You can leave us feedback on this episode at mvmpod.com or email us at mvmpod@gmail.com. You can follow us and message us on Twitter and Instagram at mvm_pod. Become a bargain basement at patreon.com/mvmpod and receive weekly bonus content, including special reviews, interviews, and host chats. And if you join today, you get that special Black Friday discount. Monsters vs. Men is produced by Alex Cornett. Executive producers are Kevin Alexander, Faye Basier, John Freeman, and Michael Herndon. Special thanks to our wives, Combo Rock Band for PlayStation 3, which forms Cell Block B, Louis Loop, Senior Honda, Drew the Collector, our Instagram connector, and you, the listener, for listening. Until next time, Alex, don't.
I love zombies almost as much as Lamy. It's that's all.
Well, there you go. Wow, there you go. You've done it. And so until next week, don't forget to slap yourself on the butt if you don't have someone there to do it for you. Try to stay
alive.
CC gave me such a weird look when I said that.
Mafia, wake up, wake up, wake up.
You have created a monster and it will destroy you.
Next time, Alex, don't.
Twerk it while you work it.
I love it.
Alex is bad.